Hi, everyone. My name is Jose,
And I'm Krista.
and we are connecting remodeling.
We are general contractors and we do luxury residential remodeling here in Los Angeles.
Yep. We also hold a C36 plumbing license that allows us to do specialty plumbing.
Yeah. And what are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about the
Kitchen contractors
kitchen contractors and why to choose a contractor versus a DIY
doing it
project.
yourself. So why would you choose just the difference of like kitchen contractor versus DIY in Los Angeles? So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of like what makes people want to do DIY and just kind of some of the realities behind it that I think a lot of people don't know about. And then we're also going to talk about what a contractor actually brings to the table. So what they can actually present. And then is DIY like really cheaper? Our opinion from what we've seen. And then we'll share a couple of situations that we're familiar with when we see like DIY stuff done and we either chime in or we've heard stories. So we'll probably share a little bit about that, right?
Yes, yes, all good.
Yeah. So today we're specifically talking about kitchens, right?
Yes.
So why would somebody have a why would somebody choose to do a DIY project for we're laughing already. I feel like we're laughing already because that seems like a bad idea for me. I think as a contractor, I feel like it's a bad idea. But why would somebody do a DIY kitchen versus hiring a contractor? What's like the allure behind it that you know about that brings that people want to do that?
Yeah, one of the misconceptions out there that anyone can really do a kitchen remodel is because what we are now seeing in the internet, that everything is just easy to do. Um, and one thing we have seen over time is once somebody gets involved in doing it yourself, is one, the whole idea with following, being code compliance, getting the right permits to
Well,
bring it into the project.
yeah, but why do they want to do it in the first place? That's the conversation we're having.
Yeah, and I think I can go back to that is being shown to them that anybody can do it based on the videos they get to see.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen like YouTube, like a lot of people see YouTube videos or they see like a posting online of oh, this remodel that was only 100 or this kitchen remodel that was only $100,
Hmm.
which whenever we see that we already know that's a little bit that they're not including their time. But I
Yes.
think the draw is that like, oh, look how simple it is. You just put some paint and then you kind of put new knobs and a new faucet and it's pretty quick and easy. Or oh, I can just like unscrew this cabinet and move it. So it looks pretty quick and easy because of like I would say YouTube and articles, they and Instagram, they make it look like it's so easy. So I could see why somebody would want to do a DIY project personally.
Yeah, and the other reality that sometimes it encourage a person that wants to do it themselves is when they start seeing pricing, right? They get these ridiculous, oh, I spent $350 to redo my cabinets with a new paint job.
Yeah, like you're saying, I think one of the biggest things that people want to do it themselves is because they think like, oh, it's so expensive to have a contractor come in. And we'll address that later on, but it's so expensive to have a contractor come in. It's going to be cheaper to do it myself, just buy some materials. I think when people have access to Lowe's and Home Depot and some of these hardware stores, they feel a little bit more enabled, which is good. You know, we actually like when people try to do it themselves first,
Yeah.
especially when we're used to sometimes getting a little bit of devalued on the effort we do. So we're like, you could try it yourself if that's what you really
Yeah.
want. It's not definitely it usually doesn't end up that easy.
Yeah. And, something just occurred to me, like, for example, if something I will recommend anybody that would like to go that route, the DIY, is perhaps to look up somebody like a real, time that somebody did just so they can share their experience.
Well, I think most
Mhm.
people when they're doing like a DIY kitchen, for example, they're not they're not keeping track of their time and they also most likely have a
Yeah.
job. So I like I said, I can see why somebody would be interested in a DIY project as a whole. Obviously. There's a lot that you say in first glance, and I probably was one of these people before I became a contractor, is you see it's like cheap, you know, you don't have to have somebody in your house and all these people online are doing it and there's YouTube videos. You could just go get, a DeWalt set and just get it done. Feel like that's like an insider contractor joke a little bit.
It
Not a DeWalt, what is it? Ryobi.
Ryobi,
Ryobi set.
Ryobi said, and like Krista said, we have worked with people that already try to do many things themselves, and none of them that we know they'll go back and do it again. There's a lot of things that they were able to recognize. They lost freedom of time. One, all their weekends that were completely take over by the time they were investing now. Now, also the time that really takes to redo a kitchen with a kitchen contractor versus somebody to try to do it themselves
Yeah,
is ridiculous in terms of time.
yeah, I think there's a lot of reality hidden behind the DIY that isn't mentioned. Like Jose said, it's definitely like extra time consuming. So I feel like a lot of these DIYers aren't actually thinking, they think sometimes they think, I don't want to generalize, but often from what we've seen is they think, oh, I have the weekend, I can do my whole kitchen. And then there's these projects that get left behind and it becomes an additional stress in people's life. I think that's one of the like the feeling of stress and extreme stress because if you start doing your kitchen and you're a DIYer and there's no one like to help you or maybe just your partner or whatever, and your kitchen is like out of commission,
Oh yeah.
that's very stressful, especially if you have to go back to your like actual job or so it can extend. I think the one you were talking about is when we kind of started is the permitting like the planning. So basically like if they don't do stuff to code, it can actually be really dangerous.
Yeah, it will definitely be something that will backfire. One, if it's not up to code, it really diminishes the integrity of the work. Plus, another thing that we have seen is how impacts the value of the property. By not having things to be compliant. With codes again, the right permits when they were brought in.
I think also like and I feel like this is when people do try a DIY project and then we obviously end up working with them later on. Um when they paint their kitchen cabinets, one of the specifically focusing on kitchen, one of the biggest things that I've seen and we've both seen it, and I think just another reality behind DIY is people will start painting their cabinets, right? And they'll brush it on and they'll wonder why it doesn't look like it does in photos. It looks grainy and very poor quality. And it's A, because most photos have some type of filter or editing. Let's just be honest, a lot of them do. And B, they're not giving it the same finish because they don't have the same tools. So the
Right.
quality of the tools,
Mhm.
like I think that a lot of DIYers start stuff and don't realize how many different tools are used to make the kitchen come out really nice because you're messing with electrical sometimes, painting,
Mhm.
depending on how far you want to go, flooring, and obviously plumbing. Those are all really different like tools that you're using. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, no, and like Krista mentioned, the quality that you will get with the paint sprayer versus rolled and brush, because I know there's some really clean people that can roll paint really well or brush really well, but it starts getting dirty in the process. It starts getting drying faster than they think, and that's when they end up with these big, scars from the paint. These just chunks of paint that when you get actually really close, it doesn't look like the idea was.
Yeah, and I think even like painting, obviously, like it's most DIYers are not going to get it to come out the same as a contractor in the kitchen. But the other thing that I feel like isn't talked about is the sink and the faucet. Like when a DIYer is replacing their sink or replacing their faucet, it can be like plumbing can be quite dangerous. And think about when they do it by themselves.
Yes.
You don't want to flood, you don't want hot water to flood. Those things are really dangerous. And also, if you don't know how to, where are your shutoff valves, I feel like a lot of people who do choose to do it themselves are doing it for the aesthetics, but aren't thinking about the actual fact that water can really damage your home, right?
Yeah, and I understand that it's in many cases it's not necessarily because they're trying to save money. I know that it gives people a lot of joy.
Creative outlets, yeah.
Yeah, and they're actually it's like a energy booster knowing that they did it themselves. And just going really quick back to the paint job again. We were just talking about how the finish will look, right? But preparation, it's never follow the same way a contractor that dedicates their time to do the work as somebody else will do it. They'll just go ahead. If anything, they'll probably just kind of clean the cabinets a little bit, but paint that they apply almost never bonds
Yeah.
surface.
No,
Peels right away.
you're so right. Yeah, one of the things like just to the prep, I think they don't realize how much prep there actually is in kitchen cabinets. I mean, we can spend like upward of a week depending on
Just
how,
prepping. Yeah.
yeah, depending on how much paint's there
Yeah.
already. So, because the way we do it is we sand it down, we bring it as low down to where it needs to be and primer it and then sand it again. And these things are getting really treated because you want them to last. That's one thing I think is another like little hidden reality behind DIY is yeah, maybe it looks good right away. And
Or in a photo.
or in a photo, but then later down the line, it's kind of like falling apart or the paint's chipping, the plumbing's loose, different things like that. And I feel like painting is the one thing people do the most in their kitchen,
Yeah.
painting and knobs and stuff like that, which some people can do a good job. And honestly, anybody that I feel like we've seen do like painting, it's pretty decent most of the time. It's all right. But it's definitely typically doesn't have the same longevity as somebody who knows how to use professional paint sprayers, who properly primers, that kind of thing. That's what my like what I've seen at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, because we're talking about kitchens, right? The whole idea of contractors, versus doing it yourself. That the amount of stress that we are able to save,
Yeah.
to somebody that one, if they've never done it before. We just know how, who goes first all the way to the end. Um, just skipping, certain preparations of these it will delay the project. And I have seen it. Somebody have spent, trying to like paint their kitchen and they spend like a month, right? But the reality is, 2, 3 days, it's just what you need to, that's the timeline that if you have the right team and, the professional tools, that's what will happen.
One of the things that like I would say that Jose was talking about right now regarding like them not having the right plan, the stress, the time, those are definitely the stress, the time, those are definitely like huge parts of DIY. But I would say like the one benefit or a couple benefits of just what a contractor, a kitchen contractor, licensed kitchen contractor, specifically a general contractor, brings to the table is to me the most important thing is they bring the permit process. So, like, if you as a homeowner in Los Angeles want to redo your kitchen and you want to make sure that it's safe, you're going to get permits and you're going to have it inspected by a city inspector. A lot of people, when we talk to them, they're scared of city inspectors. We're not. We like the inspectors.
We
They,
work with them.
yeah, we work with them. They're fine. We're very familiar with the city, building and safety in Los Angeles, and additional areas. And they're easy to talk to, and they will always give you the information if you don't know it. And I think a lot of homeowners or DIY homeowners, they either a skip that step or they start it and it becomes super stressful. So
Yeah.
I think that bringing in a general contractor to work on your kitchen remodel is so important for just navigating the permit process, the inspections. Because traditionally, like I said, I've seen a lot of people that are so nervous with inspectors, and we're like, no, we want them there. They're experts.
Mhm.
We welcome them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add a little more to the inspectors, why do you want an inspector, to be part of these projects? Is these are contractors. They have been part of
Yeah,
the industry.
they've been part of the industry, they know the rules, they've seen it all. So one of the other things that I would say that a general contractor, a licensed general contractor brings for the kitchen remodel is definitely just the time. So a good general contractor, I'm not going to say all of them, but I'm going to say a good general contractor writes a schedule and keeps people moving. There's some times where it can be time, like if you're the one doing it or you're the one hiring subcontractors, meaning like a plumber, etc. It can definitely delay your project and extend the time quite a bit. So one of those hidden realities again, but a licensed general contractor is going to make sure that the kitchen gets remodeled quickly because a good general contractor knows that it's important for you to have back your kitchen.
Yes.
Our job is to make sure that people are less stressed about their remodel and they're actually just we try to make sure people are enjoying the process as much as you can when there's a demolition happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're totally right, Krista. I mean, the time just that we have been seen by anybody that try to take the work on themselves is it's incredible. And it's not that we are just faster because we're faster. Is the time and it's
We covered your mic.
the time and experience. We're talking about decades of experience versus somebody that all of a sudden because it was influenced by a,
Influencer?
a influencer, it takes on a project like this. And we have seen many cases, like I said, where not only there's so much time consuming, but some of them had turned out dangerous because, if somebody that doesn't know, try to deal with plumbing, electrical, and we're talking about areas that it has to be handled by professionals or somebody that has, the knowledge of, what can happen if something, is not installed. Correct.
Yeah, and I think like not just like the licensed contractor bringing the right people for the right job. That's definitely like a pro, but I would say also like the general contractor usually has the right tools. So they have professional tools. But there's one thing that I feel like is actually underlooked, and this is contractor pricing. So we get discounts on paint. We get tons of contractor pricing that a regular DIYer doesn't get. So it's like your contractor can bring those benefits to you, which is you don't get those if you don't have the license. So,
Yeah.
but they also have the right tools, so they know which tools are used for what and they've tested. Usually, someone who's a good general contractor has to have had some trial and error where they start to learn like this process is the best. It's and also like wants to improve on technology, meaning like bring new tools
Yeah.
and try out like better quality stuff and meaning like better paints or push to bring the best to the DIY when I feel like tradition or to the homeowner because I feel like traditional DIY is not the best quality of materials, of tools, of people, of anything in terms of what you're actually doing. I think aces in places, right? Like I don't think you and I would be good at um I think we're good at everything, but I'm trying to think of something we're not good at.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't try to do it professionally. We would just hire the right people.
Is I sometimes get shocked and amazed, by when somebody like, for example, that doesn't have the knowledge and just try different things. Because I have found, for example, people that try to do, a lot of changing the outlets themselves. And the errors that I have seen, that they have made. And I'm not saying not everyone knows how not know how to do it, but there's some they do. But once again, it has to be treated with respect, and with the care that is needed because once again, it's a very dangerous trade, and it's better to be let it handled by a professional.
Yeah, and honestly, even like like paint seems like the most thing that people DIY in the kitchen, right? But if you get paint in your eyes because you don't have the right protective gear, or if you get paint all over your clothes or whatever, either way, it can be bad and or annoying and unwelcome. And those are definitely some big ones that I see there. But I feel like the one thing that a contractor also brings that I didn't mention is just a second sense of security, because it's like if you have a kitchen that you DIY and it doesn't come out the way you want, or it comes out not lasting that long, there's no warranty. Like, a contractor brings their warranty, they bring their expertise to make sure things look the way you want them. And if you DIY something and it falls apart in a year, you have to fix it. So I kind of feel like that brings me to like cost comparison. Is DIY really cheaper? Because you see it online all the time. It's like, oh, I did this kitchen for $100. I have seen that, and it's just like, well,
Yeah.
awful. But is it really cheaper to DIY?
Um, in my opinion, the time that was invested and there wasn't count for, I don't see that as cheaper. Definitely not, because they took valuable time of themselves. They invested it on the project and it's still not turned out the way they wanted. So, and then you end up hiring somebody else to take care of these, areas that they didn't quite came out the way you wanted. And then at that point is so that person have to redo it again, because it's not like they can just continue where it was left off if it was done wrong from the very beginning.
Yeah, they have to start all
They
over.
have to start over, and a lot of times could be more expensive because now they have to kind of like clean up, forgive me, the mess
The mess.
that was created, and we've been in that position before.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't value, like, when we read that example, I said DIY kitchen for $100. Look what this person did. They're not counting for the actual time they spent, and
Yep.
it's never just a weekend. This process started a while ago, and if it is just a weekend, most likely the quality, close-up quality that we ensure is not the same. And
Um,
so I feel like when you account for time, it's definitely not cheaper.
no.
But then, going back to what I said before about just pricing, they're going to the big box stores. They're not negotiating prices. They're not getting the best deals, and they have to buy these tools. We buy our tools, and they're an investment up front,
Hmm.
but then we use them on multiple jobs. So if you have to buy a bunch of tools for one job, then that's too much already. Like, I think that ends up being more expensive. So you're paying more for your materials than a contractor would. You're paying more for your tools because you're only getting one use out of it. You're just using it for your kitchen, and you're not accounting for the time. And I think people's time is really valuable. And that's like why I prioritize people's time so much and why we prioritize speed. Time is really valuable for us. And if you have all the time in the world, I would recommend maybe doing like a little light gardening instead of doing your kitchen.
I have, something that, we've been mentioning that we want to talk about it is what does the DIY person basically get impacted in the project they did not expect at all?
I mean, I would definitely say like the quality typically doesn't end up being what they expect. There's always some leftover pieces. And I feel like DIY can be so derogatory, but at the same time, like, I'm not just saying there's not people that know how to do good DIY.
There are some for sure.
Yeah, I think the reality sometimes of what you see, especially like what we see, tends to not be the full case. It doesn't show all the shopping trips. It doesn't show the material, like planning what you need, costing out like how much, or figuring out how much. But I think the stress is like one of the hugest things. And then when I said, DIY is kind of derogatory, it's why when people talk about something looking not so good, they usually also say, oh, this looks very DIY.
Yeah.
Not to us, obviously, but like for when they walk into a rental property or whatever. And I think something you mentioned before about, the resale. Are you looking to resell your home at some point? Are you moving? You're not, if it's not up to code, you're not going to get that resale value if you're the one doing it.
Yeah, and it will always impact because it's a big change, when somebody that doesn't understand the layout of the plumbing, for example, versus somebody that they're actually licensed. They went to school, they went to trade school, to learn these abilities. You can tell the difference just by looking under a sink, or looking into like the electrical panel, things like that that are almost like they just seem easy to do, but at the same time, once again, it can just affect the look of
Yeah,
the
like
finished product.
yeah, and I think the cost then is you have this project that you spent a lot of time on that made you really stressed out and it didn't come out the way you wanted it to. I think that's one of the biggest costs like of DIY. So like to answer the question we started with, like, is it cheaper? Um, Traditionally, I would say no. Like, there's been many times where somebody has started a DIY project and we've gone in for something else. Let's say we're going for a bathroom. And they're like, "Can you look at this in my kitchen? I did this, and I need to add new caulking," which somebody people think is so easy, but it's actually a skill behind that too.
Hmm.
So I think it ends up costing more because for us, it's more to repair somebody's DIY work, reuse those. It's high risk to use that um, to repair a DIY job versus like just start from the beginning, I think it can be more expensive. The DIY can easily be more expensive. It's either more expensive or the quality typically isn't there, or you lost your sanity, which we've seen, right? Like lost sanity, like people literally get so stressed out, and they're and not just like them doing it, managing all the crews and all the subs as opposed to hiring a general contractor for the kitchen, right? We have
Oh
seen that.
yeah, definitely when it comes to the stories, and I know it that we keep those private, because a lot of these people trust us in their homes, but when we came in already, they already have their family. They already had been through a lot of.
Strata. To the point where, like, we've seen, like, people started to like, I remember one time this is a real life story. We went to look at a job, a kitchen, and there was a bunch of miscellaneous work that needed to be done, and we were curious as to what was going on, and it was small stuff, because we read for the kitchen, and the woman at the time, she was, like, looking at the doorknob. She was like, "Can you the doorknobs don't quite work, and I need to hang some hardware, and the walls have a bunch of holes in it now." And
Mm.
we're like, "Oh, what happened?" And apparently during that process, the husband and her got divorced. It was that intense, their DIY, situation, and it's so crazy that, like, things can get that heated. I mean, we work together as a husband and wife, it gets heated, so I can only imagine when you don't actually have the tools in place or the crew or
Knowledge.
the knowledge,
Yeah.
and you're just banging holes in the wall, and that was really crazy because it's like, to see that literally it can ruin your life. Something that seems so simple, like changing some doorknobs. I mean, granted, obviously people have problems. That's not the thing that causes it, but if that's the nail that hits the hammer on the head or whatever it's called, hammer that hits the something like that, then it kinda sucks.
Yeah, and another big thing that I feel like I always see, because you can take something apart maybe really fast, right? Like a
Mm,
lot of the times you take it out really fast, almost like you got it done. But remember, anything that you take apart during the process of any kitchen repairs, you have to put it back.
yeah.
And the adjustments, that need to happen in between. I feel like there's a couple occasions that I can say, "Oh, that looks good," like when somebody else did it.
Yeah, we actually I remember another one that we did, and this was long, long time ago. There was a gentleman, he actually painted his own kitchen cabinets, and from far away, they actually look pretty decent. So once you get close up, they look DIY, but we redid a bunch of the other stuff in the house, and pretty much the whole house, including the countertops in the kitchen and the sink and all that. So then once you see the cabinets that he painted,
Yeah.
once the new stuff was done, that stood out like crazy. Like, so it did. And there's these things that like I think like, oh, I'll get ahead because I'll just paint the cabinets and then you guys do this. And it's like we we leave things professional. The goal is to leave things looking very clean and flawless. If there's not like, some people like the flawed look with tile. I know you're not comfortable with that, but I like it. But we leave things looking clean and organized and professional. And I think once you put that next to a DIY, it's hard to ignore on a daily basis.
Yeah, and just Chris is totally right because I feel like it happens all the time where perhaps it was maybe like a saving situation where like, oh, let's not touch that because it looks so in great condition, right? And yeah, like
And
as soon as everything around that it starts getting either new paint jobs, it just got like new hardware, uh, that just stands out crazy.
yeah, and I would say, like, there's just a lot of small instances too, like, for example, like, somebody, had their cousin redo their backsplash, and they couldn't figure out the outlet, remember? And so it was kinda like we actually stepped in for a bathroom, at that job and some other stuff, but it was such an easy fix for us, but they had been really struggling and annoyed with it for, what, years? They were like, "I can't fix this," and blah, 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 it's this open outlet, and we just stepped in, and it took, like, I think you did it actually. It took you, like, 2 minutes.
It really took that a little because also we also know what needs to happen, right? It turns out, and this is something probably I'll share really fast. It was a tile that was cut out around the outlet, and the person that installed the tile, it covered the hole where the outlet gets to screw in, and then kind of like a friend came back and he brought a grinder, and the grinder got out of control, and
I'm sorry.
it was super dangerous. And when I went there, all I knew needed to happen is I needed a hole.
Boom,
Boom,
easy.
that was it, and it got fixed within a couple minutes, and they were like, "We've been like this since we remodeled the kitchen, and that was like 5 years ago."
Yeah.
Say, "What?"
It's, there's just some wild stories, and that's why I think, like, I used to see those DIYs, I'm like, "Oh, it's pretty easy." But now I'm like, I now seeing and putting in the work, myself, and as we've built our business and seeing the process, it's definitely not as easy as people think. It's definitely not cheaper usually. Like, I feel like when you account for time, it's usually not cheaper. And to us, the most important person's time is our client's time. So
Yeah,
I think if the homeowner isn't valuing their time, that's a problem. They should. Your time is so valuable.
it really is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just to not have the professional touch can be like such a huge problem and all. But I think overall, our opinion is very clear about DIY. There's very few DIYers out there that are redoing their whole kitchen really well. And I would take every video you see of a DIYer or any article, just a little grain of salt before you start to get involved with it. I would maybe do some homework, research it, watch this podcast if you
Yeah.
if you're just seeing some clips, watch the full thing. But I truly do believe that DIY ends up being more expensive. It ends up being more stressful and the quality isn't there. And that's why I think people say, oh, it looks DIY when they're meaning it looks bad.
Yeah, and, we won't get tired to say this, but your time is very valuable, and your safety, it
Yeah. Priceless. It's literally
it's
priceless.
priceless, even if it's just the emotional part of the
Yeah.
safety part.
You're like, I'm not safe if we're too emotional.
Yeah, no, and seriously, is this is remodeling a kitchen. It is a serious task, and it should be handled, you know, professionally. It should be handled safely. It should be handled, the way a kitchen should be handled. With the proper permits, with the right inspections, and overall, something that will bring out the value to your home and give you that look that you were looking for at the very beginning.
Yeah. Is there any last thoughts that we want to share about this topic? We're a little jaded by DIY, I think.
Yeah, and yeah,
Final thought. What's your final piece of opinion towards kitchen contractors versus a DIY homeowner?
Uh, you know, once again, do your homework. Really do your homework because if you do your homework and then if you still feel like you can do it, most likely at least you understood the scenarios that you can be coming across, and at least will send you more prepared for the journey. Because what what a kitchen can take for a professional, I'm talking about the full kitchen remodel, like gutted to the studs, 3 to 4 weeks, that should be the standard. But I have seen that somebody had taken the task and they're like 6 months in,
Months and months,
and it's still not done,
and the quality isn't there.
and the quality isn't there.
I would say, like, just to wrap it up on my side, um, I would avoid DIY. I think, avoid that headache. No one likes a headache. That's why they say ibuprofen or Advil or whatever. So I think avoid that headache, and find a good general contractor who you like and who you feel confident in your kitchen. I mean, a lot of us spend most of our time, in the bathroom and the kitchen, right? Those are where we spend a lot of time outside of sleeping. So I would hire a general contractor. I'm a biased, obviously, because I am a contractor. But I think that the cost overall is going to be so different. So I think it'll be totally worth it in terms of when I say cost overall so different, shockingly different that the DIY isn't cheap and the value is there behind the contractor.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I say. Okay, well, thank you for listening.
Yeah. Thank you for the time. Thank you for watching these out.
Yeah, and we hope to give you more helpful tips soon.
We will.